Election battle is going to get really nasty. Edward Conard, he's former Bain Capital managing director. He says the president's campaign portrayal of Bain is completely wrong. He's also author of the book Unintended Consequences, and he joins me now. So, sir, the picture being painted is still the vulture capitalists of the 80s at work, you know, during that era, doing asset stripping, being vampires, sucking companies dry of cash, taking $8.5 million profits, consulting fees out of the steel company, and then driving the company into bankruptcy. What do you think?
Well, as if that's a business model that would work for very long. People wouldn't be lending you money. They wouldn't be selling you companies. You certainly wouldn't have investors. That's just not the way business works. It's a cartoon portrayal of business. It's unfortunate that we're vilifying business at a time when we need business to happen.
So you're saying if this was truly the business model for Bain Capital, it would not even exist today? Is that the idea?
How could it? I mean, we invested in 350 companies. Over 80% of those companies were successful. I think the companies grew on average 2.5 times faster than the S&P 500. So they've cherry-picked a couple of examples here of places where we really went in and made very difficult investments and bought plants that were already in trouble being sold by companies and really worked hard to turn them around. We can talk about the specifics of these if you want.
Yeah, we're talking about the steel industry, right? And this steel company, as the subject of the ad, was facing dumping from other countries into our markets of cheap steel. But setting that aside for a second, you know, a lot of people out there, the folks out there, don't like anybody with tin cups going to the government, you know, or you're basically being, let's say, in a nice word, hypocritical. That's not a nice word. But, you know, the president, for example, went to Blackstone, a private equity crowd, to get donation money. But this company, too, this steel company that Bain worked on, went to the U.S. government to get a pension bailout. I mean, is that a plus sign for Bain to have that on its record?
Well, 50% of the industry went out of business during that time. So I think you're always trying to work hard on behalf of your employees and try them as best you can during some difficult times. But when 50% of the industry goes out of business, it's what are you going to do?
All right. Well, here's the issue, too. I mean, we are now living in a world in the United States where we have two competing visions of what's going to fix the U.S. economy. The president is saying is his way will work. You know, Governor Romney has his approach. What do you make of this?
Well, I think that people look back and think that we're living in the economy of the 1950s when we were capitalizing on the mass production of material goods like cars, and we needed very large companies to pave roads and build cars and harvest oil from around the world. We just don't live in that. That economy slowed down in growth. Individuals weren't very important. Individual tax rates didn't matter that much. Today, 13 people can create $1 billion of value, Instagram, in 2 years, and we need to go out and harvest that value. And so we need much more innovation than we had back then, and there's much more important for individual entrepreneurs to participate in the growth or to produce the growth.
Yeah, I mean, this whole ad campaign is making like entrepreneurial capitalism is at fault. By the way, a lot of pension funds, government worker funds invested with private equity. Is that true?
Yes, sure. But if you just look at the success of the U.S. going back to the mid-1980s, we've added 40 million jobs on a base of 100 million jobs. Europe and Japan in the 15 to 20% range in the growth rate of the number of employees. And we've brought 20 million immigrants into our country, educated them, their children, given their families jobs. We put tens of millions of people to work offshore. Nobody has done more for the middle class and the working poor than the U.S. economy. No other high-wage economy has done more.
Would Bain Capital have basically given the loans to, or guaranteed the loans to Solyndra?
Well, I don't speak for Bain Capital. I think it's darn dangerous to have the government in the business of picking winners and losers. I mean, how do politicians please? They have it's just the wrong place for us to invest capital.
All right. Ed Conard, former managing director of Bain Capital. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Really, sir. Now, moments